Hey man, what's happening? This your boy Q Walker from Beyond the Game, giving you our NBA Weekly Recap Show where we go over the previous week's storylines, narratives, and throwing some highlights for you to check out as well. Well, we've made it, folks. It's been a long season so far, but we have made it to the NBA mid-season point, which means it's All-Star Weekend. I can't wait to watch the All-Star game of Team Giannis versus Team LeBron. But before we get into all of that, with it being All-Star Weekend, we're going to talk about what some of the best players have been so far, what are some of the best teams been so far, the best players, best teams, most surprising teams, most disappointing teams. We're going to get into all of that, but before we do, let's talk about some of the teams who have been struggling coming into All-Star break. Now, this team right here in the last 10 games has gone 3-7 and is currently sitting 6th in the Eastern Conference, and that would be the Indiana Pacers. Indiana Pacers, get it together, because coming out of All-Star break, if you don't finish strong, you will be watching the playoffs with Beyond the Game. Speaking of Indiana, the All-Star game is going to be in Indiana next year, so you might want to start booking your hotel rooms and try to get your tickets now. But anyways, Indiana, listen up, man. If you don't get it together, some of the lower teams in the Eastern Conference, like the Orlando Magic and the Chicago Bulls, are going to overtake you and have you sitting next to me doing the Beyond the Game weekly NBA playoff wrap up. So I need y'all to get it together. Now, coming into the All-Star weekend is a chance for some of these teams to revitalize themselves, rejuvenate themselves, get refocused to finish out the season real strong and get as good as playoff seeding as possible. Now, the Indiana Pacers, they're not going to make no noise in the playoffs anyways, but going into All-Star break, they are really, really struggling. Now, another team out west is struggling. In the last 10 games, they've gone 5-5 and are currently sitting 7th in the West. Now, everybody knows the Western Conference is a different monster. It's a different beast all in itself. You could go from first place, lose 2 or 3 games, and be in 5th place just like that. So losing games in the Western Conference means a lot more than it does in the Eastern Conference. But this team right here sitting in the 7th place is the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I know Luka Doncic has been injured here of lately, but if you're on the court, there are no excuses. You can play. And Kristaps Porzingis has been in and out of the lineups with injuries as well. He might want to see a better nutritionist, get a better chef, do something to change his diet, because that boy is fragile than I don't know what. But anyways, the Dallas Mavericks in the last 10 games are 5-5 and currently sitting in the 7th spot. Now, the reason why that's so important is because you have a lot of teams right behind them, 2 and 3 games behind them, that could easily go on a 3-game winning streak and overtake the Dallas Mavericks. And the Dallas Mavericks, again, be sitting right next to me doing the Beyond the Game NBA playoff recap. Now, with that being said, there are some teams going into the All-Star break who are streaking, and we want to talk about some of those teams as well. One of the teams that are streaking going into the All-Star break is the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors are currently sitting at 9-1 in their past 10 games and are the 2 seed sitting out east. Nobody really saw them getting the 2 seed up to this point. Most people had the 76ers and the Boston Celtics being the upper echelon teams, but the Toronto Raptors, with the loss of Kawhi Leonard, most people thought they would be maybe a 5-6 seed, but here they are sitting in All-Star break with the number 2 seed. Spicy P is killing. He's made the All-Star team for the first time in his career. And going into All-Star break, they're coming in really, really strong. And it looks like they're going to go strong down the stretch. Another team that's on a hot streak going into the playoffs right now are the Memphis Grizzlies, led by Ja Morant, the rookie. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies in their last 10 games have gone 8-2. Now, you got to pay attention to this because, like I mentioned earlier, the Dallas Mavericks are one of the teams that are on the downslope going into All-Star break, and the Memphis Grizzlies are on the uptick at the 8th spot. Now, what's important right here is that there's 2 more teams to pay attention to who are streaking going into the All-Star break. One of them is the Portland Trail Blazers. In their last 10 games, they've gone 6-4, led by Dame Lillard in the crazy month he had in January, where he was putting up 50 games like it was 15-point games, like he's putting 50, 60 back-to-back games. And they're currently sitting at the 9th spot. Another team to pay attention to is one of the teams that people thought were going to be one of the most exciting teams coming into the season, which is the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, going into the season, people think, oh, man, they got Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Zion Williamson, Drew Holiday, Alvin Gentry as the coach. This team's going to be flying up and down the court. It's going to be Lob City Part 2 at this thing. But Zion put a halt to that because he got injured the first couple months of the season. And we're just now starting to see him play. He's played in only 10 games. He has minutes restriction right now. But That's not the point of this. The point of this is that the New Orleans Pelicans are sitting at number 11 in the Western Conference, and in the last 10 games they've gone 6-4. So the Dallas Mavericks, you can keep sliding and losing if you want to, but I just named 3 teams that can potentially knock you out if you keep playing around. And the New Orleans Pelicans are starting to look like the team that people hoped they would see coming into the season. And Dallas Mavericks, you might mess around and see yourself being the odd man out. You keep on playing around. But anyways, let's continue on and talk about this team right here, who has been one of the most disappointing teams in the NBA. Now, coming into the season, a lot of people had this team picked as the first or second team, best team in the Eastern Conference, and one of probably the 2 or 3 best teams in the whole league. But this team has underperformed with so much talent, and people can't understand why. Now, that team that has been most disappointing so far in this NBA season is the Philadelphia 76ers. They are 34-21 and currently sitting in the 5th spot out east coming into All-Star break. Now, when you have Joel Embiid, Al Horford, Ben Simmons, and Tobias Harris on that team, that's a talented team. There's no reason why you should be sitting in the 5th spot right now. Like, I still don't understand it, but they're disappointed because they have a lot of internal bickering going on. You got Al Horford coming out in the media saying this team is soft. You got the trade rumors with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons going on. People saying that you need to split that up. Brett Brown's job is in jeopardy, saying, well, maybe it's just a new coach. And then the 2 people that people are not even mentioning are Tobias Harris, who they just re-signed in the summer. He's making like $36 million a year and averaging 19 points a game. Don't get me started on that. And then you have Al Horford, which was brought in to provide leadership after Jimmy Butler left, because he probably seen this coming. He was like, yeah, this ain't going to work. Guys, this ain't it. And he left and went to Miami, rather do it alone than to have a chance with a talented team like this. And then not to mention last week, the 76ers fans booed Joel Embiid because he was putting out cryptic IG posts. I mean, that boy stays on IG and social media more than he does in the weight room, because Joel Embiid stays hurt. He's on the Fragile program, man. That boy need to put the cheeseburgers down and get a better nutritionist and a shelf or something. I don't know what that boy need to do, but he need to stay off social media and stay dedicated and focused to what he's doing in his craft. But they've been disappointed because there's just no way you should have Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Al Horford be sitting in 5th right now. And then potentially, if they keep this up, they'll see the Milwaukee Bucks in the the second round, and then that'll be a early exit for them. Again, they'll be right here sitting with me, hosting NBA Beyond the Game Playoff Edition. But let's talk about one of the more surprising teams of the NBA. If you told me this team would have been sitting in 6th place going into All-Star break, I'd have called you a damn liar. But this team is led by a heady point guard, a veteran savvy center, and a bunch of young guns around them. And that team would just happen to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are sitting at the 6th spot at 33-22. Like I said, led by CP3, Steven Adams, and the young gun point guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I like a whole lot. I mean, his game is nice. If you haven't had a chance to check out his game, people, you might want to check out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He'll probably be an all-star within the next 2 to 3 years. But nobody saw this team going into All-Star break being a 6th seed. Everybody picked this team to be a lottery team, a team that would fight for maybe the 8th spot. But right now, they're holding on to that 6th spot, led by CP3 and Steven Adams. I mean, this team, you can't say enough about them. Going into the All-Star weekend, they've been playing great. CP3 has his team headed in the right direction, especially after they traded away Russell Westbrook to the Houston Rockets, Paul George to the Clippers. Nobody's seen this team headed anywhere. Now, are they going to make some noise in the playoffs if they make it? No. But the point is that nobody saw this team being this good at this point of the season. Now, let's talk about one of the best teams of the NBA, if not the best team in the NBA. Some people might say Lakers, some people might say Clippers. But this team, in my opinion, has been the best team in the NBA so far. Because why? They beat both of them teams. They beat the Lakers and Clippers. They are 3-0 actually against those 2 teams. And a lot of people have those 2 teams as title favorites. And that would be the Milwaukee Bucks, who are sitting at the All-Star break at 46-8. Yeah, 46-8 sitting at the All-Star break. Now, they've beaten the upper echelon teams. They've beaten the 76ers. They've beaten the Celtics. They've beaten the Lakers. They've beaten the Clippers, like I mentioned. They beat the Lakers back on I think the day was December the 19th. If you remember, Giannis hit the big three, and he put the crown on his head in front of LeBron James. I mean, that was a big game for the Bucks, and it was a statement game for the Bucks. And then they beat the Clippers twice. One game, they beat the Clippers by 20 points. They 20-pieced them at this joint. And yes, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard was playing in that game. They got 20-piece. So, I mean, the fact that they're 46-8 lets me know that they can play at home, and most importantly, they can win on the road. Now, a lot of people say, well, we seen this last year from the Milwaukee Bucks. So it's going to be real interesting to see how the Milwaukee Bucks fare in the playoffs now that Kawhi Leonard is not in the Eastern Conference. He doesn't have to worry about seeing them. But people are saying, okay, they were a good team last year, and they got put out before the Eastern Conference Finals. So, Giannis, you got a tall task in front of you of getting your team not only to the Eastern Conference Finals, but the NBA Finals. But going into the midseason point, the Milwaukee Bucks is by far head and shoulders better than everybody. So let's talk about individual players who have been good coming up into the All-Star break. This guy right here, his length is unmatched by anybody in the league, so it makes it hard to play against him. He's one of the better defenders in the league. So to me, this guy right here has been the best defensive player in the NBA up to this point, and continue with the Bucks teams. That's Giannis Antetokounmpo. I feel like, he can guard any position on the floor from point guard all the way up to center. He's first in defensive win shares. I mean, you can't say enough about this guy defensively. He covers up so many mistakes on the defensive end for some of his teammates. And then also another guy you might want to pay attention to that isn't getting a lot of pub, but is great on the defensive end of the ball, is Justice Winslow, who got traded from the Miami Heat up to the Memphis Grizzlies. He's second in defensive win shares, and he should be on somebody's all-defensive first or second team. If Giannis doesn't win it, keep an eye on Justice Winslow to win Defensive Player of the Year, because, I mean, he's locking down out there. But anyways, let's move along to another award where this guy probably the only man or the only NBA player deserving of this award, because he's been lights out all season long. That's my man, Sweet Lou Williams, for the sixth man up to this point. He comes off the bench, yeah, that's true, but he plays starters minutes and he closes for a lot of games for this team. Yeah, you have Paul George. Yeah, you have Kawhi Leonard. But in most cases, a lot of games when it comes down to it, Lou Williams has the ball in his hands in the last 2 minutes of the ball game. And 8 times out of 10, he usually comes through for him. So this award for the best six man so far is Lou Williams. I mean, who's been better than him coming off the bench? Nobody. But anyways, let's go on to the nitty gritty of some of the awards a lot of people really care about. Now, this next award is going to come with a little bit of controversy probably by the end of the season, because my guy, who I think has been the best rookie so far, is Ja Morant. I mean, he's played lights out for Memphis all year. As you can see some of his stats right there, 17, 7, and 3. I mean, he's a rookie shooting 35% from the three-point line. I mean, that's just amazing in itself. And then, of course, he's led with plenty of highlights for a rookie. Of course, I don't know if you guys remember that one game he told Harden, you better tell him who the F I am, after he hit a three in his face when Harden was disrespecting him by laying off of him. I mean, Ja Morant has provided enough highlights and great plays for the Memphis Grizzlies to be sitting at the 8th spot in the Western Conference. For a rookie to be leading the team, not only any team, but the Memphis Grizzlies, who are a team nobody really seen them doing anything. He has them currently sitting in the 8th spot in the Western Conference. But the controversy is going to come because Zion is going to finish strong down the stretch. Now, he's going to put up good numbers. Right now, I believe he's right around 7. He's right around 22, 7 and 5 right now. But he's only played in 10 games. Now, he's probably going to get off his minutes restriction as the NBA progresses down the stretch. And there's going to be a lot of talk of, well, how can you give it to Zion if he really didn't play until All-Star break? Or versus Ja Morant has been playing all year doing his thing. Now, if both teams lead their teams to the playoffs, there's going to be a hard argument to make, which I think you would still give it to Ja Morant just because he's done it over the course of a whole entire season, versus Zion. It's not his fault he got injured, but he only done it through the course of the second half of the season. Now, what's really going to be tricky is if, let's say, the Pelicans make the playoffs and the Grizzlies don't, but Zion still puts up great numbers. It's going to be a hard argument. Like I said, it's so many different scenarios that could come about if that happens. But for right now, coming up to NBA midseason point, Ja Morant has been the best rookie so far. Now let's talk about who's been the best player so far. Now this guy right here, I mean, there's what can you say? I'm gonna just go ahead and play the clip, man, because I mean, ain't much I can say about this guy. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak. As you can see, some of his stats right there, averaging 30, 13, 5, 54% from the field, and the great part is his three-point percentage is 31.3%. I know you're probably saying, "Well, Q, that ain't great." Well, his career averages is 28. So for him to get from 28 to 31, that makes his three-point shot a little bit more respectable. So when the playoff time comes and they build that wall against him again, he can pull that three-point shot, which he's been shooting pretty good this season. It's decent. It's not good. It's decent. It's respectable. But beyond all of that, I think Giannis will win back-to-back MVPs. I mean, to me, I think it's a two-man race. Some people might throw Kawhi Leonard in there. Me personally, I don't think you can win the MVP award if you're doing load management, because if you're voluntarily taking games off, how can you be the best player in the league when you voluntarily want to sit out games? So to me, you can't really win an award when you take yourself out of ball games. So Kawhi's a great player, and he's probably top 3 in the NBA. But if he was to play a full season and be healthy, I mean, hell yeah, he'd be in the runnings for MVP. But when you voluntarily take yourself out of games for load management, you voluntarily take yourself out of NBA awards. So because of that, it's probably a two-man race between LeBron and Giannis. I don't see LeBron winning it, although it would be a great feat for him at age 35, 36, winning the NBA MVP award. But he has AD on his team right now, who's giving him a lot of help. When you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, it's Giannis, Chris Middleton, who is an all-star, but I mean, who really is checking for Chris Middleton like that? I mean, Giannis has a good team around him, and he's the best player by far on that team, which makes him probably the MVP up to the midseason point. And if he keeps up the way he is, he's probably going to be the MVP of the season for a second straight year. Well, folks, that concludes this show. I've given you the most surprising team, most disappointing team, the best team, some of the best players who have been up to the NBA midseason point. All-Star Weekend just went over this weekend. You had the NBA Slam Dunk competition, the skills competition, the three-point competition, which I'll show you the highlights of those. Bam Adebayo won the skills competition. Actually, the finals was by two big men. You had Sabonis and Adebayo in the skills competition finals. I mean, who would have thought that? Two big men. And then you had Buddy Hield, Devin Booker, in the three-point competition finals. And with Buddy Hield eventually winning Devin Booker on the last-second money ball shot to beat Devin Booker 26-27. And then you had the great dunk-off between Aaron Gordon and Derrick Jones. I mean, in my opinion, Aaron Gordon, you got robbed. I don't know if you should have 2 titles, but you should definitely have 1 dunk title. I mean, this guy got 5 straight 50-point scores, and if you do that, there's no way you should be able to lose the slam dunk competition. But anyways, I'll show you those highlights at the end of this. Make sure you also follow Beyond the Game Facebook page at Beyond the Game KY. Make sure you follow the Instagram page at KY Beyond the Game. Also the Twitter page as well at KY Beyond the Game. Also, check out our weekly sports radio show, Beyond the Game, every Monday night from 6 to 7 on 93.9 FM. If you're not in the Lexington, Kentucky area, make sure you download the WLXU app on your phone, tablet, so you can listen to us with these stats and get these jokes off every single Monday night. Well, folks, that concludes this show. Like I said, I'm going to leave you with the highlights from All-Star Saturday night. When we come back next weekend, we'll talk about the NBA All-Star Game and also some of the most important games of last week or currently this week. We'll holler at you. We out of here. Peace.
Bet and no move back home after this, right?
Something has to be.
No move. Is it a bet?
Bet.
No move. Let's do this. Okay, Mr. Sabonis. Like Nick said, do it for your daddy.
Go. Let's go, Bam.
Oh, he's flying now. Bam is flying now.
Oh, you got that.
Oh, they both got it through.
Let's go, Bam. Let's go, Bam.
It's going to come down to the shot.
Make the shot, Bam.
It's going to come down to the shot. Good. This is Sabonis is in the right position. Take your time.
Sabonis did it all quick.
He does. Come on.
He got 19. He got 19. He got 19 going to 21. 21.
Cash. Money. Everything.
Oh, wait. You need this?
Oh, no. It came down to the last money ball.
Oh, man.
Buddy, my buddy.
Wow.
Yes.
To the last shot.
Yes.
To the very
Listen.
Wow. There you go. Not bad. I'm done.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not mad. Oh, okay. There it is. Okay. There you go. Oh, here's the back line.
Did he go through the legs?
Okay. Same time. Same time. Oh, goodness. That's a windmill. You dunk over Taco